Foster Care Nation, listen up. This is
Foster Care and Parent Journey.
Strength for the powerless, courage for the fearful, hope and healing for wounded hearts. Hello and welcome back to Foster Care and Unparalleled Journey with Jason.
And Amanda.
Today we have a guest with us. We have Juanita Grant. Juanita is a really interesting gal. Before we hit the record button, we're sitting here trading some stories and talking to her. And it sounds like she has a lot of knowledge, she has some wisdom and some experience, and a lot of the great things to share with the listeners out here as potential or current foster parents, as people who are just learning how to parent their kids. You're thinking about this journey, like, we all need some help in that.
Oh, yeah. She's got a lot of interesting things going on. It's going to be a great conversation today.
How are you doing today, Juanita?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me, Jason.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, we're running kind of crazy circles today, but that's every day in a house with this many kids, so we're kind of used to it.
The sun is shining. The temperature is beautiful. Everybody's on spring break. It's just time to kick back as a family.
Oh, yes. Love it. I love every bit of it. My kids are using their skateboards now.
There you go. Skateboards can be pretty dangerous with our crew. All these boys.
That's why they have helmets.
Absolutely.
Helmets.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We've been through a few concussions in our home.
She's not even kidding.
No, I'm not.
Wow. There's never a dull moment, I tell you.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about yourself.
Sure. Well, my name is Juanita. I'm from Boston, and I call it Boss Town. And I was just teased the other day because they said I should say Boston, but no, I call it Boss Town. Born and raised, and I am a single mom of 4, soon to be 5, 2 biological and 2 adoptive. And I'm in the process of gaining custody of another young lady. And I'm so happy. I started foster care actually when one of my friends was working for an agency. And I just so happened to talk to her and tell her I was interested in doing foster care. And I had no idea that was her profession. So that opened the door. And I was in my early 20s to begin foster care and working with youth. And I was so excited because I'm the oldest of my generation and the oldest of my siblings. So I'm a natural nurturer, I call it. I am always working with children. I'm like a Pied Piper with children. And it has been really a great opportunity in my life, having different children from all walks of life being with me. So I'm in the finance industry, so I help people with purchasing homes, helping them with their credit, making sure that they have everything that they need. But I learned that through one of my coaches that I should really work with teaching parents how to be a better parent, providing a safe space so that they can come and ask those questions. How do they do things? How can they be better and do better? So that birthed Parent Mastermind. And I've been really pioneering Parent Mastermind so that we can come together and collaborate and do great things together. And I started a membership program. I have in the process of making improvements on my website, because as you grow and you do things, then your website has to get better as well. So I've been working on that. Just finished a conference for parenting. We worked on parenting, finances, and different things like that. So I was really in my element. Finished my book that we were working on, workshops. So I've been pretty busy lately. I know a lot of people complain about COVID, but COVID, being home, it allowed me to get a lot of things done. So I'm really, happy on the things that I'm working on currently.
And what's the name of your first book?
The name of my first book is called The Game Changer Life, the Anthology. And it was inspired by Samira Jones. and forwarded by Kim Coles, the actor, who is a very amazing woman. She mentored and tutored us throughout the book. We learned so much. Even the editor, Lauren, she was really phenomenal. So that was my first experience in writing. I was really happy because as a little girl, I always wanted to be an author. I wanted to also write films. I wanted to teach people how to be better. Those were the things that I really, really was focused on doing. That was my drive as a young lady growing up. Even though I experienced adversity in life, those were the things that I wanted to do. So as an adult, doing what I always wanted to do is really amazing. And I talk about that in the book.
That's really awesome. And now you have a second book that just came out, correct?
Yes, March 1st, we launched. It's called the Make It Matter Project. So the name of the book is Make It Matter. Ryan C. Green, he came up with the idea of putting together the anthology, bringing us authors together. There's 16 of us. There's also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's like 5 or 6 special contributors to the book as well. They're amazing speakers who speak on various topics. And what's different about this anthology, there's a workshop attached to it, and we're working on a movie. So it's really very different from my first anthology. I'm really happy to have the opportunity. And the name of my title in that one is called Make Your Parenting Matter. And everywhere I go, everyone I speak to, I always encourage people to make it matter. So when I seen that was the title during a workshop, I was present in one of the authors in the anthology. And it's been such a great experience working with Ryan. Well, working with Ryan C. Green it's called the Make It Matter Project. And the reason why it's called Make It Matter Project is because we worked on an anthology together. There's myself and 16 other authors. We also have a group of, I think it's like 6 or 7 amazing speakers that are well known in the industry. And they also have contributed to the book. We worked on workshops, which are really amazing in each and every one of our gifted areas. My title in the book is called Make Your Parenting Matter. And when I learned about the project that Ryan was working on, I was in a workshop that Brian Knowles had put together. And and when Ryan started talking about Make It Matter, and putting that project together, I felt like that was such a great opportunity because everywhere I go, everywhere I travel to, I always encourage people that whatever you do, make sure that it matters. That it's really important. Make your parenting matter. Make your financing matter. Everything that you do, it's really important to make sure that you make it matter, that you do the best that you can do to the best of your ability. So I definitely wanted to participate, and it's really been a great, great experience.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it is. Jason has a question that he likes to ask quite often. And you seem very passionate. So I want to start off by asking, what sets your soul on fire?
What sets my soul on fire? Seeing families work. I love seeing mothers, fathers, and children. I love seeing just seeing people work together, do things together. That really sets my soul on fire. Especially youth. I do a lot of stuff with the youth. I'm a big kid at heart, so that I'm very passionate about.
I know someone who's a big kid at heart.
No, I'm a little kid at heart. Give me a 4-year-old and we're going to go have fun.
Yes, and a mess, and a mess.
Hey, that's part of the fun. Get over it.
So how long have you been fostering now?
Oh my goodness, over 25 years. I won't tell the rest of the years because then that starts to tell my age.
How many foster children have you had?
Over the years, over 25 foster children. I did have a residential program as well where I had 6 kids at a time. That was very, very different. Just imagine having 6 teenage girls at one time.
No thanks.
No thanks.
Yes.
I'm good.
Your house is never the same.
Oh,
It's never
I can
the same.
only imagine.
You look at where's the hair?
We have lots of boys.
Yes, see, I love having boys. Boys are a lot more easier until they get older. That's when things begin to with boys.
The teenage
Yeah, but
years
when
can
they-
be a little rough. They can.
Very interesting. Yes.
Especially when you have trauma
Yes.
and things like that mixed in. It can be a challenge. But yeah, our daughter's outnumbered.
Yeah.
Well, me and my daughter are outnumbered. Lots of boys.
So I got to ask, Amanda mentions trauma, and you mentioned having that, 25 kids over the years and having 6 girls in the house at a time. I mean, we all know that trauma plays a part into this. What are some of the lessons you've learned that have just made the difference in helping these kids make the turn and end up in a good place?
You know what I've learned? Don't assume. See, we always assume that, before a child comes into our home, we're given a case study. This is what the child experienced. Most times they give us a lot of information. Oftentimes they don't give us enough. But I've learned never to assume. And I've also learned to keep the door open so that I can listen to understand. Because every child that comes into our home is unique. Their experience is their experience. And the most successful times that I've had with young people is listening, is learning what they've been through. And it's not about what's on paper, it's about what's in that child's heart. So I've learned never to assume, never to, never to judge. That's really important because sometimes we feel, oh, they've been through this, so this is how they're going to be. No, you have to take them for who they are, for where they are, and just work with them where they are. And those have been the most successful placements. In the beginning, I didn't know any better. So I went with the information that was given and I judged and I was wrong. And I've learned over time, that everybody is an individual. Their experience is their experience. And I work with them so that they can be the best. If it's Johnny, Johnny. If it's Susie, Susie. And when they leave, I want them to leave empowered. I want them to leave knowing that regardless of what they went through, that you can still be the best you that you can be. And I also work really hard to encourage them to break the cycle, because sometimes a lot of the children that I have worked with, their mother was a foster child. Their grandmother was a foster child. It has been a cycle. So
it does seem to be a generational problem.
Yes.
So many of the kids we've seen are part of that generational cycle, and I can only commend you for attempting to break that generational cycle, because I don't think we're going to change it any other way.
No, and if you can break that cycle, you can create families, you can create beautiful things.
Yes. Sometimes the kids don't know that they can break the cycle until you teach them that they can, that there's a way to break it. That's why the pattern keeps going on, because they don't know that they can do it. And that's why it's important for them to know that they matter and the things that they do matter.
Hey there, Foster Care Nation. We'd like to take a quick minute to step out of the podcast here and ask you guys for a little bit of support. If you could share an episode with people, friends, in a group, with family, anywhere where there's somebody who would like to hear this. Also, if you'd like to join us and support our mission, a couple dollars a month would be really helpful. You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/fostercarenation. Now back to the show.
And that's why it's important for them to know that they matter and the things that they do matter.
Absolutely. And I think it's so great that you're trying to help parents learn how to speak to their kids, because Man, some days it's so hard to talk to your children, and
Yes.
me as a parent myself, there's days I could use all the help I could get. Can you kind of walk me through how the Parent Mastermind kind of works?
Absolutely. So the Parent Mastermind is new, and we provide a safe space so that parents can come together without losing their mind or their sanity. It started initially with conference calling, parents just coming together, venting, expressing what's going on. A lot of my friends, they call me for advice. They're asking me, what do? I have this child and this is what's going on. Oh, I don't want to choke them. You're so calm. What do you do? And, I said, make suggestions, well, why don't you ask them, what is it that they need? Ask them, what are they thinking? Did you ask? Why would I ask? How are you going to know if you don't ask? Oh, sometimes you just have to ask the question. And children, one thing I love about them, they're honest. So if you ask the question, they're going to tell you. They have nothing to lose. So that's pretty much the premise of where Parent Mastermind has started. So I do my best with Parent Mastermind to provide a platform where you could come and vent, and then you can learn the strategies to ask the questions, how to ask the questions, what are some of the things that you could do to encourage the child to speak, encourage the child to participate in doing things, because every child is different. One of my girlfriends heard the little boy that she had. Oh my goodness. I think I really take my hat off to her because the patience was really incredible. But he was really a hard cookie because he didn't want to listen to nobody. He used to throw himself on the floor, have temper tantrums. She spent a lot of time running back and forth to daycare. So when I spend time with her and him, I would ask him, what is it that you need? And he would simply say, I want some crackers. He would throw himself on the floor. But if you don't ask what he wants and what he needs, then he's going to continue to throw himself on the floor. So it's just little things that we can do as parents to just tweak those things and to have those conversations. Even with my teenagers, like my daughter, she's really good at basketball. She just loves basketball. And what she didn't know is I'm a tomboy. So I love basketball too. So I just take her down on the court. I just let her know, listen, I can do it too. And she's like, wow, but that opens up the doors to so many conversations. But you don't know if you don't ask the questions. So Parent Mastermind, it's forming into a membership where parents can come. They can participate in workshops. They can, they will be privy to a lot of different things. And at the end of this year, I would like to have a retreat for parents. So we're watching how COVID is going. And if we can't do the retreat in person, then we will definitely do it virtually. So, and if you go to the website, you'll learn more about it. And as things turn around and unfold, that's how you'll be able to really see what's going on. We're doing some really great things. And that's inspired by Juanita.org.
Yeah, we'll make sure that link ends up in the show notes, so anybody who wants to check it out can just run down to the show notes in your podcast player and click it there. And my apologies, but Apple's kind of got something going on. They're having a bit of a bipolar moment with the podcast notes for whatever reason. So if you're on Apple and it doesn't work, you can just go to fostercarenation.com. The top left, if you're on mobile, it's the little drop-down menu, but the podcast blog tab will take you right to a page where you can find all the show notes right there, nice and easy. And that one will work. I'll make sure those work.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, because as it turns out, I can't fix anything, any of Apple's issues. They won't let me.
Well, if you could, it'd be awesome, but
I know you'd be the next millionaire.
Right?
Wouldn't that be nice?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Jobs might argue it might make you a gazillionaire.
Oh, goodness.
But, it sounds like you've got a real heart for taking care of, older kids. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and say that's weird. Not weird in a bad way, but I mean, we all have our thing, you know.
He likes the toddlers.
Yeah, you give me a room, 33-year-olds, buddy. We will have an army ready to assault the closest popsicle stand. We'll go have a blast. You know, the Hot Wheels will be in full fledged on the floor, and we'll have a good time. I love that age range. It's just, well, Amanda will tell you it's because when at the end of the day, that's where my brain really is comfortable in the 3-year-old mode. But I'm not going to argue with her on it. She might be right. But the teen years are so hard. I mean, as a teenager, it was hard, right? I don't know about you. When I was a teenager, I didn't like teenagers much. And as kids get to that age, they become more difficult for a lot of parents to be able to parent and work through. So what in the world made you like look at life and go, this is my wheelhouse. This is what I want to do. And what are some of the strengths that you can bring to others who are struggling with that in the moment?
Yes. You know, that was the hardest time in my life, being a teen. I was bullied in school. I went through a lot of different trials and tribulations, and that's what really led me to working with teens. I had a woman who really poured into me through a program called W.O.D.A, which was wiping out drug abuse, and that was in Dorchester, Massachusetts. I was 16 years old when I went to her and I said, I want to give a talent show. And she said to me, you can do it. And I went and I did it. And she just encouraged me through it all. And when I gave my first talent show, I booked the hall on my own. I was 16 years old. They didn't even know I was not even 18 years old. They didn't even ask me any questions. I paid for it with the money I worked for. And I made, after everything was all paid and said and done, I made over $3,500. And I was only 16 years old. And she mentored me and she encouraged me. And I felt that when, you know, as I began to grow older, that if I can do it as a young person, then I can really show other young people my age how to do it. So I started working with teenagers ever since. And that's what really led to me working with the older youth. And they just love talking to me because I don't judge them, because I don't put them down. And I let them know, listen, you're special, you're important, you really matter, you mean something. And that's what kids want to hear today. You know, it's easy to like reprimand, to be on them and to be like, you know, you did, da, 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 da. But when I say, okay, you made a mistake, so how do we fix it? How can we work together so that you don't go down this road again? Or, you know, I've made mistakes too. So when I did this is how I fixed it. So what are you going to do to fix it? What are you going to do to make it better? And that starts the wheel turning. So I encourage parents, ask the question, don't assume, because sometimes as parents, we want to fix the problem. We want to fix everything. But you need to find out what is going on. What's behind that child's decision-making process? What is it? Why are they so insistent on doing the things that they're doing? There's a reason. And when you find out what that reason is, then you're in a better position to have a much better relationship. And those are some of the things that I want to make sure that I teach parents, because as you know, parenting doesn't come with directions and instructions. They really don't. Here it is, you have a child in front of you and it's like, you're looking at that child like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? What do I get myself into? But it's just such a natural, because I remember when I was younger, I wanted somebody to listen to me. I wanted someone to understand me. I didn't have any big sisters or big brothers. That was it, you know? So with that in mind, when I speak to, you know, teenagers, I just want to know, what are you thinking? Where are you? Where do you think this is going to lead to? And remember, what you do today, it affects you later on, because one day you're going to need a job, you're going to go to school, and what you do now, it comes out in the end. And they don't think like that until you point it out to them, you know?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a geek on the brain science stuff, and knowing what I know now about the brain development, that part of the brain that understands that stuff, that doesn't really fully develop until somewhere between about 22 and 26 years old for most people.
Yes, especially boys. Now that's when things begin to turn around with boys. So they're easy when they're younger, but when they get older, it's their brains aren't working the way we would like for them to work all the time. And I find that at that age, I'm spending more time talking, sitting down at the table, showing them how to do things. And that goes back to not making the assumption. You can't assume just because someone's 22, 23, 24, 25 that they have it all together. You can't make that assumption. I sit down with my sons. I give them budget sheets. I show them how to budget. I show them how to spend their money, manage their accounts, and do different things. And then they take that tool and then they go and they teach their friends. So it's just really important to know that just because you're that age, that you don't have it all together. And just because you're that age, it doesn't make you a quote unquote adult in Webster's standards. You're still learning and growing. And your adult and your role as an adult and as a parent, it changes. Just because your child turns 18 doesn't mean you cut that umbilical cord all the way. It just means that your role as a parent changes and you become more of a mentor, more so than a parent.
Yeah.
So it's important to know when to make that shift.
It sounds like the difference between, the idea of discipline and control and the idea of influence.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Because
and your kids will come to you, when you pay attention and you're not making those judgment calls and your door is open where they can come and ask the questions. I'm telling you, it makes a much better relationship. Like I said, I'm a grandmother today. So my son comes to me, he's like, Ma, we sat down and we had this plan and it's not working that way. Yeah, just because you plan something doesn't mean that it's got to go according to plan all the time. That's why you need to have a plan A, B, C, and D,
Yeah. Oh, well, my kids think that their plan is going to work all the time, right?
Well, that's because they're teenagers and they know it all. They know everything.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't understand how kids today are that way because I was never that way.
Oh, no. Let's just ask your mama.
Well, I was about to say, I know when I was a teen, I knew, I just knew it all. I had questions, but there was times when I really felt like, oh, okay, well, I'm doing it anyway, so I know what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
As an adult, I'm like, wow.
And even as I look back across those years, I don't think I really had the feeling like I knew everything yet, but I really didn't care to listen to others. And I think that's a struggle that as parents we all deal with is, they may not really truly believe they know everything, but they don't want to hear what you have to say oftentimes. And I think as a parent, that makes you struggle, and in foster parenting even more because there's more layers. There's the layers of trauma and, identity and all of that on top of it. It really just magnifies the issues as we deal with that with these kids. So I know you said earlier that you've had like 25 kids of all different races and ethnic backgrounds and all that. Have you dealt with the identity issues much with these kids?
Absolutely. Like I said, everyone's definitely an individual. And yes, identity has played a part in the roles. And it's made it really difficult for a few of the children that I have had in my care. I had one young lady, she was really struggling and she was cutting herself. And when I caught her, because she would wear long sleeves all the time, I asked her, why would you hurt yourself? And then she was like, well, it doesn't matter. And I said, well, it does. And then I just took her arms and put them in my hands. And then, and I showed her, I said, every time you do this, you're creating a scar. And then when you get older and you start to look at those scars, and you've gotten through the process, you ask yourself, why did you inflict that pain? And And I said to her, when you feel this way, I gave her a notebook. Instead of cutting yourself, write it down. Write it down. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? How are you doing? You know, just put it on paper. And today, this young lady.
Hey there, Foster Care Nation. If you'd like to find yourself in a group with like-minded people, head over to Facebook, and you can find us at facebook.com/groups/fostercareuj. We've got a group over there where we talk about foster care, we talk about adoption, and we talk about all the things related. If your podcast player allows it, you can also reach down and hit that subscribe button so you get notified every week when we put up uploads. Every Tuesday, a new episode comes out. We'd love to see you next week. Now back to the show.
And today, this young lady, she is amazing with writing. She is amazing with what she does. And I'm really happy that she's still here. But I later learned, she had been molested and she had been raped by a gang of boys. And she struggled with whether or not she wanted to be straight or gay. She was just hurting on the inside, and then she felt rejected by her parents. And I later learned her mom couldn't read, and because her mom couldn't read, she couldn't keep apartments. And they didn't really help her mom with keeping the family together. And we're not supposed to, but I ended up helping mom with applications and securing a place so that, her kids, would help, be with her. And I brought her to a place where she could learn how to read so that she can work with her children, help them with homework and stuff. And her daughter, when her daughter came to me, she was 16, she turned 17, and she was helping her younger siblings. And her daughter became an honor roll student with me, and her writing just was out of this world. She was so gifted. But when you get down to the root of the problem, you really have an understanding. And then she also learned who she was in the process, why she was where she was. And it was like the layers began to fall, and she began to really flourish and bloom. She stopped the cutting. She started opening up. She was able to communicate. And I spent time with mom, helping mom to get where she was. It's not so much that mom was a bad person. She was the oldest, and she had to take care of the kids. And the same thing happened to mom. But mom didn't get the education that daughter got. So yes, I've had so many walks of life, but she's doing extremely well today, and I'm happy about that.
Well, it sounds like you've really had a deep impact in more than one life in the way that you approach these kids and their situations, and the bio parents even. So for the listeners out there who are thinking that, foster parent might be something I'm called to, I feel like that's something I want to look into more. What would you say to somebody who came up to you and told you that?
I would tell them you can do it. You can do it. It's scary in the beginning. It's not easy when you have a child that you don't know in your home. But you can really be an asset in the young person's life because they're dependent upon good people to believe in them, to support them. And one thing that I make sure that I let parents, foster parents know, just as you're nervous, that child is nervous too, because they're not with their family anymore. They're in a new environment. They have to learn a new set of rules. They have to learn how to do things differently. So you can be a great asset in the life of a child. And I want everybody to, not everybody, but if it's in your heart to do it, because not everybody's cut out to be a foster parent. Not everybody's cut out to be an adoptive parent. I have friends that I would be praying for that child all the time.
I feel you there.
But for the most part, You can do it. And it's my mission to encourage as many people to become foster parents. Right now in the state of Massachusetts, there's over 5,000 children in foster care. 5,000. We need homes. And sometimes there's so many children that the workers have to take the kids home. But there's so many people, and then there's a fear. A lot of people are afraid to be foster parents as well because they don't want to be accused of something that they didn't do. They don't want a 51A against them. They don't want their family to be disrupted. So there's so many different things to consider when becoming a foster parent. But like I tell people, listen, they need us. They need us to be there. They need us to open the doors. They need us to support them, And most times I tell my friends and other people, you really need to know like what age group too. That's the other thing. So like you said, Jason, you're good with younger children. And if you know that, you need to make sure that you state that in the beginning and they will place younger children with you. If you're better with teenagers and you know that you can make a difference, then you let them know. And I explain to them the home study process, which you have to go through with MAPP certification. It's called in Massachusetts. And just the steps through the process so that you can have the best fit. Because not every shoe fits on the right foot. You know what I mean?
Oh, so, yeah.
I just feel, we need more homes. Absolutely.
And, I think that's a problem everywhere. It's a problem in our area. It's all over the place. We have children that are being placed in juvenile detention centers and residential centers and shelters, and that's no place for our kids.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
I really, I don't like to see that really bothers me. And you're not able to get the individualized attention that you need. It's bad enough you didn't get it at home and then you go into a center. It's just going from one place to a worse place, and it doesn't help or make the situation any better for that child.
Yeah, it's another trauma. It's leaving a child out there scared, lonely, feeling like they're unloved. I mean, you've taken everything that they had, and even if it was a bad situation, that's still their situation. That's what they knew. That's where they were comfortable.
Yeah.
And then we throw our children into a place where they feel alone without guidance. And, it breaks my heart. So I really do have to say thank you for taking care of our teens because they need it.
Yes.
I agree. You're talking about a lot of the fears that the parents have, or potential foster parents have. And I think that's one of the things we just have to be honest with. Like some of the things are worth being concerned about. You're going to have some things. I mean, you're dealing with things you ain't never seen sometimes.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
I've had the feces on my wall. Yeah. The shower looking like Amityville Horror Show with the blood all everywhere. Like, where did this come from? Yeah, I've seen so many different things,
Well, so far, I don't think we've had any feces on the wall yet that I could think of.
From babies taking off a diaper.
Well, yeah, but other than that.
But there's
we've
all
been
kinds
fortunate on that one.
Of trials and tribulations that you're gonna go through. But it seems like you're stepping up to the plate and meeting all them and doing things and creating programs and books. But what's the next step? Where are you heading now?
I want to get into films. So like I said, with the Make It Matter anthology, we finished the book portion, we finished the workshop portion, and now we're working on the film. So I'm really happy. I don't know how we're going to do it with the pandemic yet. That's something that we're really working on, but that's going along the lines of where I really would like to be. In addition to that, once this is over, I do want to start a program for pregnant women, young ladies, and for their boyfriends. I don't believe, like so many places, they separate the young lady from the boyfriend. And that causes division in families. So with the program that I put together, it's not so much that they'll be living together, but I do want to hold workshops where they can learn how to be parents, how to work together, how to be effective co-parents for their child, where the resources are, how they can do things together, even if they're interested in being married, how to be a married couple, how to be successful, how to weather the storm. Because some kids get married because they know that they want to do that, but they don't know what exactly is marriage. How do you work through? How do you deal with the changes when your one partner matures faster than the other? What do you do and how do you do it? So I cannot wait to find a building to start my program. And you know that this whole COVID thing is going on. So I don't know when, but that is my hope and my dream, to continue to build youth and to strengthen parents and encourage them and let them know we got this. We're going to do this. This too is going to, this is going to blow over. Where are we going to be? How are we going to stand? How do we empower our children so that they can be great leaders? That's so important. So those are my future goals and plans. And hopefully I'll be back on here in a year or two, talking about how great the program's going.
Absolutely. You'll have to keep us posted and informed so that we can let everybody else know. And, because we're always looking for resources to help people, because that's one thing that we hear a lot when we talk to foster parents is we just don't have enough help. We don't have enough resources, and it leads to burnout. And we can't keep foster parents, and we need foster homes and parents. So any resources that can help with that, is wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Resources are slim a lot of times. It feels like when you're, especially when you're in those hard moments. And it sounds to me like you have really mastered the ability to stay calm in the moment of problems with kids. And is that I assume that's a big part of what you teach to parents?
Yes. Some of my my friends, they tease me all the time. A lot of them are older than I am. And I used to get lectures from them all the time. You explain too much to your children. You talk too much. Why do you do that? And I used to say, well, if I don't teach them and talk to them, how are they going to learn? How are they going to understand? When my sons were preteens, I used to give them the cash and give them the phone bill and send them into the Western Union so that they could pay the bill. If we don't teach them how to do things while they're young, how do they grow up to be responsible adults? So those are some of the things that I have encouraged my friends to do. We need to prepare our children to grow up. They need to grow up. And if we keep doing everything for them, how do they become responsible adults? How do they become responsible members of society? If we don't teach them how to take care of children, how to be good and great in school. It's not only just about your behavior, but how do you create good study habits? How do you communicate to your teacher, I'm struggling with this and I don't understand, without being embarrassed or ashamed? You have to teach them how to speak up and advocate for themselves, how to do things differently. Because sometimes kids don't know, and they'll sit in the classroom and they won't say anything because of that fear and they're nervous. They don't know how to express themselves. So I spend a lot of time talking to teenagers. Well, when you go, make sure you look them in their eye. Make sure that you explain, I don't understand how to do this. This isn't making sense. If you don't tell the teacher won't know. And there's more than one way to get the answer to a problem. So how do you figure out those ways? How can the teacher teach you the other ways if you don't let them know this is your struggle? So where my friends, they used to laugh at me all the time. Now they're like, you know what? I find myself talking to the children all the time. I find myself doing this, and wow, it really works. It does. because kids don't know. We didn't know as parents how to, raise our kids. We thought and assumed we'd do things one way, but then the reality of life taught us something very different, and we have strategies today that we didn't have when we was younger, when we first started parenting. So how do our kids be successful? We have to teach them. We have to explain to them. We have to talk to them and give them the steps and the tools for success. And a lot of kids, especially in foster care, they don't know that because their parents don't know how to teach them. Their parents didn't understand themselves. And even as young adults or adults, they didn't know because nobody ever sat down and explained and poured into them. So yes, I'm very patient. This is my voice tone. And if it goes up higher, let me tell you, people start moving because it's like, uh-oh, her voice went up. It's like, oh no, but this is my voice. This is how I am. And this is how I do things, because I want them to come to me. I want them to ask me questions so that they understand.
Yeah, I like what you said there. That whole voice tone is so very important. I've learned, with my own kids that I can so very much control and shape the conversation with nothing more than my intonation, the speed of my speech, the volume, the tone. And it's again, that goes back to a lot of the brain geek stuff, that I've learned from some of the people I've listened to and learned from. Chris Voss, he was the lead hostage negotiator for the international kidnapping team, right? And who better to understand how to deal with teenagers than somebody who deals with terrorists and hostages, right?
Yeah.
But some of the skill sets that he talks about are so very crossover. They work in that world very well because honestly, it's just a matter of connecting with people.
Yes.
And trying to figure out how to make that connection happen and have the other person feel like they're being heard or seen. And those are the skill sets that we just didn't gain a lot of times as parents. So as you've worked through this, over time with all these kids, how difficult is it for you in those moments to understand, like in that moment when the kid's in your face and loud and hollering and screaming and making a big fuss? How do you keep your calm and keep your tone in the right place so that you can listen to what they have to say, listen to hear them, to understand them, and not just listen to be able to respond quickly and win the argument?
One of the things that, it takes great discipline. I learned to just shut up. So while they are venting and talking, I let them talk, because in that yelling and having a fit, if you just let them talk long enough, you're going to find out why. It comes out eventually. And, I let them just have their little fit and that temper tantrum. And then when they're finished, I say, okay, I've heard everything that you said. That there was a better way to express that. If you had just came and said, this is what I need, I would have been more than happy to assist you. And you yelling at me, it didn't make me feel good, but I'm glad that you got it out. And one of the other things I really explain, I have feelings too. So after they're done yelling, you really hurt my feelings because it didn't even have to be that way. And they're looking like, your feelings? You got feelings? Yeah, I'm a person. I got some feelings too. And you just hurt them, So, a lot of my friends are like, oh, you're a pushover. No, I'm not. Because a person who has wisdom will learn when to open your mouth and learn when to shut your mouth. And see, parents are so focused on winning, on using their muscles and their powers to be the parent. But you're more powerful when you close your mouth and you find out what's really going on. And then you know how to support that person. You understand what is what's really going on in the heart and in the mind of that child. And you'll know if that child needs therapy or if they need one-on-one time with you. Sometimes kids just want that time with you. When you don't give it to them, it begins to bubble over and it can come out explosive. So if you just don't say nothing sometimes and just listen, my son taught me, he's 25, and he said, Mom, you're so busy speaking and you're saying different things. He said, you never once asked me, am I happy? And I was like, what? Are you happy? What the heck am I going to ask you that for? But you know something? I didn't ask him, am I happy? Why? Is he happy? Because that thought never crossed my mind to ask him if he was happy. He said, Ma, a parent who loves and cares about you cares that you're happy. Did you ever ask me, am I happy? Because he said, once you know whether or not I'm happy, that's when your parental skills should kick in on how, if I'm unhappy, then you could give me advice to my unhappiness. However, I hope I have a charger because my thing is low, but that's okay. And he said, and if I'm happy, then you know that we can share some really good moments as a mother and son. So that was just very valuable for me because I never thought to ever ask, are you happy? So it's just little things sometimes, little nuggets, little adjustments that we can make as adults. Instead of flexing our muscles, we can just listen and then make better judgment calls, accurate judgment calls. You know what I mean?
You mentioned the problem. A lot of the problem comes from that trying to win an argument and getting loud and trying to use your power. And it's funny that I have an entire book written in my head. I haven't put pen to paper yet. I know one thing for certain is that the title is this: Nobody Hears You When You Yell. And that's pointed straight at parents.
Yes. And that is so true. When you're sitting there yelling, a child can't function. You can't function if someone's yelling at you. Right?
I can now, but only because I've done a lot of work with it. I've had a lot of kids who've stood there and yelled at me. They've trained me well how to step out of that place. But again, the brain science stuff, that's what spikes the amygdala. You go into your fight, flight, or freeze response. Yes. You now have the reptilian brain and maybe a little bit of the mammalian brain, but that whole front part of the brain that does all that real important work that makes us successful and lets us work together and collaborate and come up with a solution together, that goes out the window. And we're primarily just like the crocodile who wants to eat the thing in front of us. And when you put two crocodiles in the same room and they're both hungry, it doesn't turn out pretty.
Not at all. Not at all.
Not that that's ever happened in my house. Yeah, that's been one of the big struggles we've seen. It sounds like you've seen that plenty as well. I love what you're saying about that. It's just so very important for us to learn that skill so that we can help guide kids especially kids from hard places who probably have spent a lot more time in that fight, flight, or freeze space.
Absolutely. Like I said, I've had all walks of life. I've had gang members. I've had children who've been molested, children who've been raped, children who have been severely neglected, so many that have walked through the door. And like I said, every shoe does not fit on the same foot. So you have to meet them where they are and just have an understanding. But listening has always been the number one thing. Just listening to understand, to reach out. And even, if they cry, it's so important. When kids aren't crying, that right there sends up a red flag to me because they need to let that pain go and to get rid of it. How do you do that? Oftentimes crying, but then it's like when those tears start coming, that defense mechanism sometimes kicks in and it's like, oh my God, I can't let her see I'm vulnerable. I can't let her see I'm weak. it's a sign of weakness. And that's actually no. It's a sign of growth as far as I'm concerned, because you've acknowledged what you're experiencing, you've acknowledged what you went through, and now you're going through a cleansing process, and now you're ready for the next phase in your life. How do we take those steps for the transition to get you where you need to be? How do we change things where your heart's not so heavy, where you're lighter, where you can begin to do things differently? Those are so important to instill in our young people, and that's why it wasn't easy in the beginning, because I wanted to win. Doing like this, it takes discipline. You have to really learn. It's a skill, and you really have to learn and understand. My oldest son, when people yell at him, he's 27. He just discombobulates. He can't take it. But what I do love about him, he's really excellent in explaining how he feels, what he thinks, and how he feels things should go. That's really important to have those skills. And I love it. When he sits down and talk, I'm like, okay, you're amazing.
Juanita, we really appreciate you coming here and sharing these stories, because it sounds like a lot of them were really hard-fought lessons that you had to work to get to a positive end, and the wisdom that you gain out of that really is impactful in a lot of lives. And when you can share that with an audience, that just spreads your wisdom so much further. So thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story with us.
You are very welcome. And I really appreciate you having me. It was really a pleasure just speaking to the two of you, and just everything that you share. I'm very grateful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And as your journey continues, please keep in touch with us and let us know the good things that you're doing, because you're really making an impact, and we need more people to make an impact in this world.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And, even having this platform where the door is open, where different people can come and share, you're doing such a great thing. So this is definitely an asset. And I really appreciate, being able to participate and to share. It's really been amazing. Thank you.
It's been great. Okay, Foster Care Nation, thanks for listening to Juanita's story. Now take her knowledge and wisdom to heart so you can create love and healing in your family and community. Be sure to come back next week. We have new episodes every Tuesday. If you'd like to share your story as a guest, you can reach us at fostercareuj@gmail.com. You can connect with other like-minded people on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/fostercareuj. And don't forget, we have a Patreon where you can support our mission for as little as $5 a month. It's at patreon.com/fostercarenation. The links to everything are in the show notes on your podcast player or at fostercarenation.com. And, as always,
you are so super awesome. I think you guys are cool. Yeah. Thank you for listening. Thanks.